The broadcast is now
Wait.
starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Yeah, let's give maybe a minute more to give everyone a chance to join. Right, so we'll start in a minute or two, right? Okay, I can see that the number of attendees is growing. So welcome to all those who have just joined. And just before we start, I would like to inform you that this webinar will be recorded for the communication purposes, especially for those who could not attend. So the recording has already started, and so does our webinar starts now. The main goal of today's webinar is to present to you the PULSATE project, the latest funding opportunity, the second open call for technology transfer experiments, and just to give you more information about what, who, and how. And we'll also be giving you some tips on how to apply. And at the end, there will be some time for your questions. And today, my colleague, Alessandra, is supporting us with the management of the technical side of this webinar. So if you would have any questions during the presentation, any comments, and would like to write them in the chat, Alessandra will be able to see and read all of your questions and comments at the end of the presentation. So a little bit of introduction about who we are. PULSATE project on Funding Box side is run by Izabela Zrazińska, Senior Project Manager, who is here with us today as well. And I'm Maria Karpilowska, Project Lead for PULSATE in Funding Box. In PULSATE, Funding Box is responsible for tasks related to the open calls management, among others, but also Funding Box is the go-to platform with multiple funding opportunities, where we provide, on the one hand, an ecosystem of funding opportunities for entrepreneurs, where we share the deep tech know-how, enable connections, and deliver tools. We are now one of the largest European deep tech ecosystem. And on the other hand, we provide a solution for corporates and investors, helping them with the identification and integration of innovative startups and SMEs. This way, we create what we call the Funding Champions Deal to support the European SMEs and startups who are looking for initiatives and opportunities such as PULSATE. Funding Box is involved now in over 50 projects addressing different sectors, with PULSATE taking a stand in manufacturing under the umbrella initiative I4MS, which aims at the digitalization of the European manufacturing industry, with laser and photonics technology being a very important part of it. So here you can see some examples of how laser-based advanced and additive manufacturing, so that's what the LBAM abbreviation stands for. I will not discuss those examples in detail, but we just want to show them to you to prove how this technology can be important in different sectors that we have predefined for the project purposes, but of course we are not limited to those. So the experiments that we are looking for in this open call can actually represent some of these manufacturing areas. And what is the main goal, the main objective of PULSATE? So our mission is to promote and facilitate the adoption of laser technologies by European SMEs and mid-caps, which we believe is crucial for the digitalization of the manufacturing industry. We want to reach the innovators who already work on such technologies, but also the ones who want to adopt them into their processes in different manufacturing industry sectors. Of course, around all our activities, we are creating a network together with digital innovation hubs, competence centers, and other organizations and investors as well. The network will have its own marketplace, the Digital Agora platform, where all the services and community related to the laser technology will be connected through a single entry point. The Digital Agora will be launched and open to the public later on this year, so stay tuned. And who is behind PULSATE? PULSATE project is run by a very strong consortium of 9 partners, and 6 of them are research and technology organizations that specialize in photonics and laser technology. So these are IMAN, SINTEF, CA, Fraunhofer, FTMC, and MTC. FBox, Funding Box, is responsible for open calls management. EPIC is one of the biggest consortia in photonics, responsible for dissemination in PULSATE, and Glasgow is responsible for building and launching the Digital Agora platform. So how do we address the PULSATE mission, acceleration of the design, development, and uptake of laser technology by European manufacturing industry? The answer is PULSATE open calls. By the end of project lifetime, PULSATE will have launched 4 open calls through which 62 projects will have been supported with over 4 million euro redistributed to European manufacturing SMEs and mid-caps. In PULSATE open calls, we have 2 modalities. The technology transfer experiments, where the first open call was closed last year, and now the selected experiments, the winning experiments, are actually in the support program. You can check who the winners are in our communities, and you can read the success stories that we are proudly supporting now. The second modality is adopters use cases. The first adopters use cases open call was closed last month. But of course, in today's presentation, we are focusing on the second open call for technology transfer experiments. Under this link, you can find more information on the remaining PULSATE open calls, the TTE open calls, technology transfer experiment open call, as well as the adopters use cases open call. The open call is, of course, just the first step in your adventure with PULSATE, but the ultimate prize is the support program. I'm using the word prize here on purpose because the greatest added value of the program is the technical support that you can get from the industry experts from within our consortium. So the 6 competence centers I have already mentioned in one of the previous slides. As for the list of their tech capabilities and services they offer, you will find it in Annex 2 of the Guide for Applicants documents, which I will say a few words about later on. So other benefits of the support program include the business mentoring led by Funding Box, funding, of course, up to 150,000 euros per experiment, a lot of media exposure, and also access to private and public funding investment. The support program, the whole support program takes 13 months, and it will start in January 2023 and will be divided into 3 stages, which you can see here in the slide. So stage 1, tech development, will take 6 months, stage 2, proof of concept, 5 months, and the last one, this is the stage where the business mentoring happens. It takes 2 months. Now I would like to tell you a few more words about who we are looking for in this open call, what kind of experiments, what kind of entities can apply. So technology transfer experiments are formed as consortia. Why? Because a consortium is the most natural environment for demonstrating the use of laser technologies and benefits it brings to the value chain from the end user to the technology provider. Each applying experiment consortium should include minimum 2 companies acting as a technology provider, system integrator, and on the other hand, a manufacturing company, so the end user, the adopter of the technology. So how do we define the technology provider and manufacturing company? So the technology provider is any entity which designs, builds or rebuilds or programs, installs, modifies or supplies systems or technology for laser-based advanced and additive manufacturing. And we define manufacturing company as any entity that deals with the physical or chemical transformation of materials or components into new products. And as you can very clearly see in this slide, each consortium must include at least 1 adopter, 1 end user, 1 manufacturing company, right? If you do not have a partner to apply at the moment or cannot think of any partner to your consortium, please write a post in the matchmaking community in our spaces. Here is the address, and we'll try to help with the matching. The second criterion we are looking for is your legal status. So only SMEs or slightly bigger companies can apply to this open call. And how do we evaluate this status? There are 2 criteria. The first one being headcount, and the second one, annual turnover or balance sheet total. So the biggest numbers that guarantee the SME or slightly bigger status are less than 500 employees. So this is the maximum for the first criterion. And in case of annual turnover, 100 million euros or balance sheet total up to 86 million euros. And these numbers are, of course, compliant with the official European Commission guidelines. And please remember that this counts for all your partner and affiliate entities. The same way, take it into consideration if you are a subsidiary of a bigger company or a partner or linked enterprise. Okay? And there's one more thing to add here that you should be aware of, that research and technology organizations who are SMEs are not eligible under this open call, as we are addressing here specifically small and medium or slightly bigger enterprises. So all these aspects concerning legal status of the entities are included in the frequently asked questions documents, which you can check for your SME or slightly bigger status before applying. Another criterion for you to be eligible is the geographical scope, and by this we mean the country where an entity has been established, where an entity has been registered. So in order to be eligible, applying entities should be registered in one of the EU member states and their overseas countries and territories, in one of the countries associated to Horizon 2020 program, but also entities registered in United Kingdom are eligible as well for this open call. In the application form, you will be asked to select one of the experimentation areas listed here in this slide and describe in the excellence section of the form how you address this specific area. In the guide for applicants, you will find examples of experiments participating in the first PULSATE TTE support program, actually in these areas. Another criterion we are going to look at is that in this open call, we are looking for experiments whose technology readiness level is between 5 and 7. So from technology validated in a relevant environment to system prototype demonstration in an operational environment. And here just a short summary. There are 4 elements required to come up with an eligible proposal. So there's consortium composition. So remember that we need minimum 2 entities and minimum 1 manufacturing SME per consortium. Another one is your legal status. So only SMEs or slightly bigger companies registered in EU member states, Horizon 2020 associated countries and UK can apply. Another criterion is that you indicate and address one of the experimentation areas and the TRL level between 5 and 7. And when all these elements are combined, your proposal will be eligible for this open call. As I've already signaled earlier on, first technology transfer experiments are currently in the middle of the support program. There are 10 of them. So already in our communication channels, you can read some successful stories and get some reference or inspiration on how to write a successful proposal. There is another very important aspect worth mentioning. PULSATE is sharing communication with many other projects that aim to digitalize manufacturing industry under I4MS umbrella initiative. So if you're coming to us from another I4MS project or have already received funding under PULSATE, you should take into account the maximum funding limit. So the maximum limit is 100,000 euro per entity, and it concerns PULSATE, but also all I4MS and Smart Anything Everywhere CAE projects. So please double check. If you have already received funding under one of the projects, will you not exceed the funding limit? And if you were to be selected, you always have to remember that you cannot request more than the funding limits. Now I'd like to tell you a bit more on how to apply. We have a dedicated microsite. You can see the address in the slide, but Alessandra will also paste it now in the chat. This is our application website. When you click apply now, the application form will open, but before you do that, please look first at the read first and get help sections. And here we would like to share some useful tips on how to apply. So in order to have the possibility of submitting the form, you will need to fill in all the required fields, the ones marked with a red asterisk. And all those required fields must be completed in English. Okay? Within each consortium, there will be one coordinating entity, so and one contact person responsible for submitting the form. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that only one person has to write all the application. There is an option to add contributors to your proposal, so you can work on it as a team. And deadline. The deadline is the deadline and nothing can happen after the deadline, but a lot of things may happen before the deadline. We strongly recommend that you start working on your application as soon as possible, that you do not wait until the last moment with submitting it. Because you can submit your application early on and later edit it. So you can submit it and keep editing it till the very end, till the deadline, instead of doing it the other way around. So this is the strategy that we strongly recommend. And coming back to the application websites, what will you find in the Read First section? Before the preparation of the application form, please check the guide for applicants. This is a must. A lot of information, all the criteria are described in this document. Frequently asked questions is an additional document where we include all the complementary information. It will be updated during the open call with all the questions we receive from the applicants. You will also find here an application form overview. You can download the PDF if it makes it easier for you to prepare the application offline. But please remember that this is only for your reference, as the application forms must be submitted via the online form only. And soon we will also be adding the SGA template. SGA is the abbreviation for sub-grant agreement. So this is the agreement you sign with PULSATE consortium once selected to participate in the program. We are still quite early on, but we believe that it is very important for you to know the agreement provisions rather sooner than later. So we will be publishing the agreement template very soon for your reference. And the second important section to check before applying is get help. Of course, you can also get help in the frequently asked questions documents. You'll probably find answers to many of your questions there. But in the Get Help section, you'll also find the links, dates and links to our webinars and info days organized by PULSATE Consortium. You'll also find the link to the open call help desk in our help desk space. And Alessandra, if you could paste the link to the help desk space. Of course, you can always send us a message. We are really answering this email, reading all your messages and questions. So this is what you'll find in the Get Help section. But we also encourage you to follow our communication channels, PULSATE Community, and project profiles on LinkedIn and Twitter, as we publish there a lot of updates, information, invitations for webinars, info days, etc. So what happens after the open call? The deadline of this open call is the 29th of July, and after that, the submitted applications will go through the selection process, which I'm going to talk about in detail in a minute. The selection process should finish by the end of October. Then we'll have 2 months for signing the agreement with the winning experiments. And the support program will start in January 2023. Selection process includes 5 steps. So after the proposals have been submitted, after the deadline, the first step is the eligibility check. So this is the check where we screen the submitted applications by country, TRL level, size of the company, to check if you have the SME status. And this eligibility check is based on the information that you have entered in the application form. You can find all the eligibility criteria in section 3 of the guide for applicants. The next step is expert evaluation. So this is external evaluation carried out by experts in the photonics industry nominated by the consortium partners, but with what's very important, those experts are independent of the PULSATE project. The experts will review 3 sections of the proposal: excellence, impact, and implementation. The key aspects you should pay attention to, describing them in detail in your proposal. Of course, guide for applicants. In the guide for applicants, you'll find information on what the evaluators will be looking at. So please read that in detail. Each proposal will be evaluated by 2 external experts based on their review of excellence, impact, and implementation. Each criterion will be given a score on a scale between 0 and 5. And then, based on the average of scores, the ranking will be created. Proposals that pass the threshold of minimum 3 points per criterion and 10 points for the scores in total will pass to the next phase of the selection process, which is the consensus meeting. Yes, and excellence, impact, and implementation are described in section 4 of the guide for applicants. So the consensus meeting. This is a consortium meeting where consortium members discuss the ranking based on the external evaluation. And based on the ranking, we will decide on the final list of experiments to be invited to the jury day, presential or online. This has not yet been decided. But what is the point of the jury day? The jury day is a great opportunity for the consortium to listen to the pitches from the experiments, and it's a great opportunity for consortium members to ask you questions before they make the final decision. And the last step of the selection process is the formal check. So the experiments who win the jury day will be invited to join the support program and sign the agreement with PULSATE Consortium, the subgrant agreement. However, before such an agreement can be signed, the winners will have to provide us with all the documents confirming their SME or slightly bigger status, and provide all other documents necessary to sign the agreement. So in the first step, eligibility check, your status is checked based on the information you provide in the form. In the last step, formal check, we go through all the documents confirming your status. The whole selection process will take about 3 months in total, and the price is sub-grant agreement signature. So now I'd like to come back to those 3 very important criteria that will be evaluated by external experts: excellence, impact, and implementation. So excellence, requires you to describe the technology behind your experiment, to describe the TRL level, to connect to at least one of the experimentation areas, and show state of the art related to your innovation. The next criterion, impact, you have to show their examples of end users or clients that might adopt the outcome of your experiments. We'll also have a look at whether this is scalable to different industries. You also have to describe market potential, competition, initial business model, highlight know-how and technology. And technology transfer between academia and industry. Also, you'll have to address issues such as environment and low carbon economic contribution, equal opportunities, and social impact. And the last criterion, the third one, implementation, where you'll have to describe main actions to perform the experiment, where you'll have to give some KPIs. So of course, we always recommend using the SMART rule for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound KPIs. You'll have to address the risks, right? You'll also be asked to describe what you need to perform the experiment. So in Annex 2 of the guide for applicants, you can find the list of services offered by PULSATE consortium. So if you so ideally, if you can think at this stage what kind of services you would need, or even indicate that the competence center you would like to work with, this is the place where you can do that, where you can describe what kind of infrastructure, technical support, or business support you will need. You also describe your consortium team in this criterion, and the budget. How to calculate the budgets for the action. So there are 5 main categories of the budget, and things to consider. For overheads, we used a standardized flat rate of 25% of personnel, travel, and consumables cost. And subcontracting is limited to 15%. It should not exceed 15% of personal, travel consumables, and overheads, because the support given to SMEs under PULSATE is for the tasks being performed by the beneficiary of the funding. So we just want you to be the ones who perform the majority of the activities. And one very important thing to consider is that the reimbursement rate under PULSATE project is 70%. So once you calculate your total costs, the maximum you can request is 70% of the total costs. Also remembering about the funding limits. In the frequently asked questions document, we have included a sample budget calculation, so you can also have a look at that as reference. There will be also, in the application form, there will also be a question about ethics, so we'll have to address some ethical issues. The most common issues that we identify are usually related to personal data, protection of personal data, how you deal with personal data, or another one is military applications. So I think this is all I wanted to present to you. I'm just wondering whether there are any questions. Alessandra, do we have any questions in the chat?
Hi, Maria. Then thanks for your really clear explanation. We do have some question. I receive it. First one, it's gonna be if I would like to receive some technical support from one of the partners, how this is gonna be.
Okay, so if you have a look at the list of PULSATE consortium members and the 6 competence centers, and you identify the competence center, and you also have a look at the list of services in annex to in the guide for applicants, and you know exactly that this is the competence center who can provide me with this exact service or services that I need, please include it in the implementation description under resources needed section, because this is a very important information for us, which makes it easier at a later stage to match your experiment with the most relevant technical mentor. So yes, you can include it in the implementation description.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. And the second one is gonna be, can one entity participate in more than one proposal?
Well, the answer here will be yes and no, or it depends. So if you are, because each consortium, experiment consortium, needs a coordinating entity. So if you are a coordinating entity, you are responsible for the proposal submission. And in this case, you can participate in only one proposal. However, if you are not a coordinating entity, you can participate in up to 3 experiments, but remembering about the funding limits.
Great, perfect. Thanks for your answers. We don't have any more questions for the session today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Alessandra. So if we don't have any more questions, then just a very short recap. Please remember about the deadline, which is the 29th of July. Please check the microsite for second TT open call for the latest updates, webinars. So in the second webinar, we'll be giving you more information about the support program itself, and there will be one more closer to the deadline of the open call with questions and answers session and useful tips, and we'll be announcing the dates for the two webinars through the open call website and all our communication channels. And also, if you have any questions at all and you cannot find the answer in the documents, please just send us an email, right? So Alessandra, is there anything that you'd like to add?
I will say no. The explanation was really, really clear, and I think that we have all the elements to help the attendee today to better understand the application. We had the link. I mean, I copy paste the link in the chat, so everyone
Perfect.
has the right tool to proceed with the open call submission proposal submission. Thank you.
Yes, yes, of course. Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you for all your support. Thank you all the attendees for being with us today. So if there are no further questions, thank you again and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you. Yeah, the weekend starts today. Thank you.